Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about the Steelers, how they traded Kenny Pickett, which I don't know if a lot of people saw coming. You know, it was reported that they ultimately did this because Kenny Pickett responded poorly to them getting Russell Wilson, which is a bad look because Kenny Pickett's essentially a nobody. I mean, in the reality, in the grand scheme of the NFL right now, he is a nobody. He is nothing. He has no resume, no clout, no nothing. He has nothing, no leverage whatsoever. So it's a bad look that when you have no leverage to be making a big deal about something. You know, at this point in Kenny Pickett's career and the amount of success that he's had, he is just a yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. You know, just that's what you are. You don't there's no room for your personality, for your thoughts, views, and opinions because you haven't done anything. Okay, you are practically at the bottom of the barrel. And the only reason why you're not is because you're technically a quarterback. Not technically, you are a quarterback. So therefore, you are elevated because quarterback's a very important position. But besides that, he hasn't done anything. You know, so I think that to me stands out from just a personality aspect. That I'm like, you know, I'm always cautious of. To me, that's a red flag. But the trade of Kenny Pickett to the Eagles, I think it's a great pick for the Eagles because the Eagles, first off, have the culture and the team to be able to withstand any of those types of issues. And the Eagles have always been forever now, you know, for well over a decade, firm believers in having legitimate backup quarterbacks. They know better than anyone, obviously winning a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, of how important of having a legitimate, competent backup quarterback is. One who can actually win you games. And that is Kenny Pickett. I truly do believe that Kenny Pickett is not just like a complete scrub. Do I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL? It's debatable. He's obviously not a top quarterback, but he is definitely going to be one of the best backup quarterbacks, without a doubt. And so the fact that the Eagles did this is very aligned with what they believe in. Doug Peterson flew to Nick Foles and practically begged him to get Nick Foles to be like, I want you on this team. Please come here. Please come here. You know, they are firm believers in it. They went and got Mike Vick when Donovan McNabb was the quarterback. So they've always have been, since the Andy Reid days, believed firmly in having backup quarterbacks, and it's paid dividends for them. In even players and teams that you may not even really remember. That haven't necessarily led to like a Super Bowl with obviously Nick Foles, but just other past backup quarterbacks have always been of very high quality and has served them well, has always given them a legitimate fighting chance. Again, you're maybe not winning Super Bowls with these backup quarterbacks, but have a fighting chance, while other teams kind of neglect that aspect, and when their quarterback goes down, it's a big deal. And the truth is the way Jalen Hurts plays and the way he's more susceptible to get injured in that regard. He is a slightly smaller quarterback. It makes sense. So this is a great move, although it is fascinating that, you know, they were making that move and got Kenny Pickett and not Justin Fields. That's interesting to me. But let's take a listen to see what Nick has to say, and we can go from there.
Means he felt like, you guys don't want me here, so I don't want to be here. It's not like now I have a better chance to play. He has a worse chance to play now, right?
Absolutely.
Backing up Jalen Hurts, the entrenched $250 million starter in Philly, versus backing up the $1 million new arrival in Russell Wilson. I think we are seeing a trend, whether it's good or bad for the league, of teams ripping the Band-Aid off quickly from even if they were a first-round pick at quarterback. Not going to work, not the guy we thought, let's move on. And so Mac Jones it happened to, Trey Lance obviously it happened to, Kenny Pickett, the draft after them it happened to, Justin Fields, the same draft as Mac and Trey, it happened to him, Zach Wilson it's happened to last year. For the Steelers.
The Eagles did it with Carson Wentz years ago. They're like, this is not working. People don't like you in the locker room. We have Jalen Hurts. Get out of here. And then then 2 years, they're in the Super Bowl.
I find it interesting in that I don't think they all of a sudden are more committed to Russell Wilson. I think that they showed they were done with Kenny Pickett when he was healthy for a playoff game and they started Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, that's true.
The moment that happened, they were done with him. I do wonder if this means they could package that pick they just got for Pickett and use it to get Justin Fields. I do wonder that. I think that is intriguing and a real possibility because right now they have no depth chart because Mason's a free agent. They have real questions after Russell Wilson on the quarterback depth chart.
So the Justin Fields to Pittsburgh stuff was always percolating. Suppose that does happen. You think that's a competition, or who has the head start there?
Oh, I think Russ clearly has the head start because he's there. They just held it is always noteworthy. Do you get an introductory press conference or not? Russell Wilson did, and so
poor Mac Jones was just in a quiet conference room with the social media manager.
Exactly right. And so, no, I think Russell Wilson would have the leg up, but I think it would be a real competition. I think Kenny Pickett knew he wasn't going to be truly competing with Russ. And so I think he was bothered by that, so would rather go somewhere else where there's
also not going to compete.
But I think it's less insulting to not be competing when the player's Jalen Hurts than Russell Wilson. And I think it's less insulting when it's not the team that drafted you. I think that there's an element of, you guys drafted me, you gave up on me because I got hurt, I'm sure is how he feels, even though I think they give up.
No. And I just checked, this is like the end of the clip, so it's obviously a short clip for them. I disagree. I don't think it's less insulting. I think it's more like, if you're insulted by that and upset by that, you're not going to now be suddenly not upset by it because you're on a new team. It's just that you're not exposed to the people who did it to you. Meaning like the Steelers did it to him, and so now he sees them every day, and he's just like, you benched me, or, you sat me, like, and it builds up that anger. And so now if he's just not in that same room, right now he's on a different team, it's still insulting and he's still upset, but it's just, it's just that he's not being exposed to those same people, right? I mean, again, think of it like a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, you're dating someone, they break up with you, and you're really upset. Now, if you saw your ex every single day because you worked with them or whatever, just the way how life unfolded, and you saw them every day, like, you would be extra upset. You would be seeing them, and you would be like, oh my God, But if you don't see them, right, the whole no contact, non-contact, or whatever the heck the cool kids call it these days, it's a lot easier to kind of get through and move through. And, you're kind of maybe like dating other people now, right? So it's just as insulting. You're just as upset. You just are not as triggered. You're just not being exposed to it regularly. You're not seeing the person who broke up with you every single moment. So it's not. So I think I think that's kind of what Nick is saying. I don't want to say that it's less insulting. But because it's still just as insulting that you're in that situation. You're still just as upset. But I think you're able to maybe cope and, get through it more quickly because you're not seeing, Mike Tomlin's face every day, right? Where now every day you see it, you're just like, you SOB, like, I hate you. How dare you do this to me? And you're just like extra angry that you can't have that when you say go to a different team because you're just like, well, I understand I'm sitting right now, but like, you don't know me at all, right? Like, and you do got Jalen Hurts. So it does end up being an easier pill to swallow, so to speak. But I just think that the order of magnitude of it being insulting is still equal. You're just able to cope better. That's just the way how I see it. But I think that's probably what Nick means in that regard. I think it's probably just a game of semantics and just how we're kind of explaining the situation. But as I said at the top of the clip, I think this is a good move for the Eagles. I really, really do. Because I do think Kenny Pickett is a competent quarterback, and I think he would do much better with actual weapons and with an actual OC who knows what he's doing outside of whatever the heck the Steelers have done for the last decade. So I think I don't blame the Steelers for trading him and getting rid of him, but to me though, the way how Pickett handled the Russell Wilson move, I do see that's not, that is a somewhat red flag to me personally, but I'd still, at the end of the day, I do know that the Eagles, they know what they're doing in that regard because their track record is very great with regards to that. I mean, Jalen Hurts was a backup quarterback to Carson Wentz, and that ended up obviously being an amazing move because then again, it led to a Super Bowl. So, the Eagles have consistently, I was curious to see what they were going to do with regards to that. And so I'm fascinated to see if this plays a factor in anything moving forward into the future. But you didn't have to really give up anything substantial for him. But it was weird though what Nick is saying of how they got this package and that they were going to use that to try to trade for Justin Fields for the Steelers. And it's like, well, if that's the case, I don't know, like why wouldn't then they just trade Picket for? I don't know. That's interesting. It feels like I've heard rumors. I don't know if this is true. That there's rumors that Justin Fields is just not on the trade block. Actually, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But it is fascinating that he hasn't been moved yet. And to my knowledge, pretty much any quarterback that's worth pretty much anything outside of obviously some of these other quarterbacks who are like what is Mason Rudolph really worth at this point, relatively speaking, to Justin Fields, the fact that he hasn't been moved yet. So I just don't know what any of these other options are. And if he does end up in Pittsburgh, like, why did it take so long? Why are we taking this like crazy, squiggly path towards it? So it's definitely fascinating to see. But those are just my thoughts. Do you think this was a good move for the Eagles or the Steelers? Do you think Kenny Pickett is actually a legitimate quarterback, or is he just a straight up, higher level backup quarterback, if that? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.